What's up, y'all? In this video, I'm going to tell you the stories of 3 problem players and what happened in the D&D games they were a part of. So let's get right to it. This one's posted by u/filthyhoboman, and it's called Player Rage Quits Over Ubtao's Punishment. Here we go. A while back, I was running Tomb of Annihilation, and I had a problem player we'll call Mei in the group. A lot of problems with him, but essentially he had main character syndrome. His character needed to be the most powerful, most beautiful, and most classy. But it's hard to stay classy when you're doing a hex crawl through the jungles of Chult. This group had a lot of good in-party banter and would have a lot of fun poking fun at each other and making jokes when they set up camp and whatnot. It was great until they took the piss out of Mei. There was a lot of material to work with since Mei is a high-class elf who spent the entire journey scoffing and talking down to the party. So what we have here is a fancy pants elf that can't hack it in the jungle. That's cool. Nothing wrong with playing your character that way, right? Continuing on. How did Mei respond? He refused to pack up camp and he sat there in the middle of the jungle. When one of the players asked if he wanted to continue, he decided to cast Firebolt repeatedly to attempt to burn the jungle down. We live in a tropical area, and this led to the funniest argument between 2 players on the feasibility of setting fire to a jungle. Have you ever tried to light a banana leaf? It's effing impossible, dude. Throwing a firebolt tantrum in the middle of a rainforest full of dinosaurs, huh? Great plan. And yeah, there is no way that you're setting an entire lush, damp jungle ablaze with something like a firebolt cantrip. Mei eventually decides to continue. He tries to lone wolf it, and I tell him he either continues with the party or he's out. He's done this before and it just caused trouble. I was using a third-party add-on from PowerScore that helps plan travel days in the jungle. The next encounter is with a sentient bush that was created by Ubtao. It gives out berries that grant you temp HP if you're nice, or poisons you if you've disrespected the island or the dinosaurs. Most of the party interacted and ate some berries and got temp HP. Well, if you try to burn down the jungle, you get the poison condition in the runs. To the party's raucous laughter, Mei stomped out of the session right quick. I never did get to show him the passage from the book and that I wasn't picking on him. I guess I really don't care either. We finished the campaign without him. It was great. Aw, poor guy. His fancy pants elf probably had to get a new pair of pants after getting Ubtao's revenge from those berries. I still don't understand why he threw the firebolt hissy fit though. I guess he thought the DM was messing with him? The DM probably should have let him know that he wasn't being singled out and he was running the berry bush the way it was written. Oh well, let's do the next story. This one actually comes from a player in the last story. This one's from u/totallylegitKat, calling the DM's bluff. Inspired by my DM's story of the Ubtao rage quit, I'd like to share a horror story in my past Curse of Strahd campaign where I was the DM. Beware spoilers for Curse of Strahd, obviously. Also a long read, so be prepared. The party were at level 3 when they have escorted a ward, Irina, to the second settlement in the game, the town Vallaki. Vallaki's context is that it is the largest surviving town in the valley of Barovia. It is somewhat also a stronghold against vampires, werewolves, witches, and other creatures of the night. Naturally, they have a standing militia, with their lieutenant numero dos of the town, Isaac, at their head. What the party and everyone else didn't know is that Isaac is the long-lost brother of Irina. Isaac didn't know it either. Thus, when he sees the woman of his dream, literally he decides to kidnap/arrest her. Her adoptive brother Ismark thus were being escorted away from the scene of the kidnap where the party happens upon him. During the rescue, one player accidentally killed a guard. Thus, they are now wanted murderers. Oops, that's not good, but these things happen in D&D, am I right? Not only are they in the demi-plane of dread, but they're wanted outlaws. Let's see how this goes. After a lengthy stealth and chase sequence, the party was surrounded by multiple town guards, with Isaac being summoned to the scene. Now, a further thing about Isaac that was described over several interactions with the players is that Isaac has a freaking demon arm that throws fire. He is the town's general after all. Not wanting a TPK over an accident, I had the town burgomaster show up to the standoff and ordered the team to put down their weapons and promised everything will be alright. Hey, free mercs, what's not to like? Now, entered the infamous player. I'll call him Curious Kong. Curious Kong, previous character, was a forge cleric who picked up a zombie arm and got surprised that it knocked him the elf out at level 1. Curious Kong seems like the kind of guy that isn't worried about doors being trapped or chests being mimics. I like him already. Curious Kong's character after this incident, foreshadowing, dun dun dun, was the solo bard who ran alone into a coffin shop upstairs until 5 vampires spawn. Curious Kong also is the one who loudly and publicly revealed the identity of a secret masked hero to a town full of spies as a way to gain clout toward the hero, and expected said hero to be friendly to him. Curious Kong was, in all meaning and purposes, a very curious specimen. In this moment, When the team were at half health or lower, spell slots spent, and were debating how to weasel out of doing stuff for free for the Burgomaster, Curious Kong decided that he, a level 3 paladin, would walk forward toward the demon-armed captain of the militia and say these precise words. Watch, guys. I will call the DM's bluff. No, it wasn't the Burgomaster's. No, it wasn't the sadistic demon-armed town captain. He was calling my supposed bluff. I guess Curious Kong thought that the DM wouldn't have the stones to have the demon-armed captain fully retaliate against the party. He attacked, rolled a nat 20. Very nice. He smited, dealt around 40 plus damage. Very nice indeed. Isaac is now from not a scratch to bloody, but Isaac immediately retaliated. He also rolled a crit. Whoops. His attack was normally 2d10 plus 4. It is now 4d10 plus 4. Whoops. I rolled a total of 42 points of damage. Big whoops. The paladin had 28 max HP. He only had 13 HP left. Very big whoops. As I described his head being lopped off cleanly from his shoulders, the Curious Kong was dumbfounded amidst his peers' laughter. Looks like the DM did have the huevos to dish out consequences to stupid actions. I like him already too. He proclaimed that he didn't expect that Isaac would have killed him and was met with more laughter from his peers, reminding him that Isaac also burned someone alive for disobeying him. He then asked me after the game to maybe have the people immortalize him as a revolutionist standing up against tyranny. I answered that unless the team somehow completely salvaged the town, they won't, since the party was wanted for murder. Curious Kong then asked how could he be a murderer when he's just trying to liberate the town from the evil guard. I pointed out that said guard was also safeguarding them from werewolves and vampires. Looks like Curious Kong did a speed run through the stages of grief straight to bargaining, but the DM held his ground. Curious Kong finally conceded and asked to roll up a bard who somehow knew about the tales of the dead paladin and is dead set on immortalizing his legacy. There were many more twists and turns to the party afterwards, but this one moment never ceases to amaze me when I remember back to it. R.I.P. Curious Kong. You will always have a statue of you standing up against tyranny in my heart. And finally, here's our last story. This one's from u/zknight137, and it's called PC Likes to Get Inebriated, Tries to 3D Chess Encounters, and Ruins Other PC's Experience. I got into D&D in maybe October of 2022. I had played it once, maybe 4 years previous, and had an awful time. But now I've realized that the guy was just the absolute worst DM you could think of. I decided to give it another shot with a friend of mine DMing, and I had such a blast. I did 2 more sessions with him, and I would mention to my other friends how much of a great time I was having, and they wanted in. One friend offered to DM, but I deduced that there was no way he had the time to run it. So I took up the task of being a DM with having only played 3 times because no one else wanted to take the initiative, knee slapper, of doing it themselves. We had 6 at first, which I know is a lot, but I didn't want to tell anyone no or exclude anyone. I watched some Critical Role, Ginny D, Dungeon Dudes, and this channel for what to do and what not to do, and I accepted that I was probably going to make mistakes. Great attitude from OP here. The best way to start running D&D in my opinion is just do it. It's like Rocket League in that sense. Everybody starts bad. Everybody. Continuing on. Day of the first session. My buddy comes with his wife, so now I have 7. I'll refer to him as Married Guy. Session starts, and one of the players had based their character off of a reality TV star as a gag, and the other players weren't liking it. Especially Married Guy's wife. For the record, I thought it was hysterical. The Married Guy's wife would constantly smack reality TV star upside the head, so I would have her roll for damage. So he was taking 1d4 damage whenever he basically roleplayed his character. They have their first encounter, and shocker. Reality TV star goes down because when combat started, he had only 3 hit points. So about this part, I think having someone take 1d4 damage when a party member smacks them upside the head is a bit much. 1d4 damage is what you take when you get hit with an actual full-on attack with a dagger. Also, PvP never ends well in my experience. That being said, let's keep going. I overall thought the dynamic was funny and was okay with letting them just roleplay it out. The next session basically evolved into bullying, and reality TV star, Married Guy, and the guy whose house it was smoked and ate edibles and drank heavily during the breaks to the point where they were barely functioning. I had based this second session on the homeowner's backstory, and I was hoping for them to have a cathartic moment. That didn't happen, so the effort I put into that went down the toilet. I had a stern talk with everyone the next day about the role-playing that had turned into bullying, so that stopped. I brought up how I was unhappy with the large amount of drinking and use. The homeowner and reality TV star profusely apologized and said they wouldn't do it again. But the Married Guy basically said, "You don't control me, I do what I want. His house, his rules, I guess." but you need to at least be sober enough to play the game. If it's becoming disruptive, I could see OP's point here as well. This past session was supposed to be the finale, the epic conclusion of the story I made. My adventurers had gathered what they had needed and were off to slay the big bad villain once and for all. My wife, who has been struggling to find enjoyment out of D&D in general, wanted to cast Pass Without Trace to do exactly that so she could sneak into a high spot to start combat. I had made a homebrew rule stating if they had discernible high ground, they could have advantage on attacks, and it worked vice versa for NPCs. Instead, the married guy tells reality TV star to cast a line spell, and when TV star speaks up to defend what my wife wants to do, married guy yells, "Just do it." Reality TV star casts the spell, instantly kills 2 enemies, and married guy thinks he's a tactical genius. I can feel my wife give up on D&D in that exact moment. Car ride home was awful. Yeah, that sucks. If another player is trying to do something cool, try to give them their moment to be awesome, or at least talk about it before just steamrolling forward and ignoring them. My adventurers move to the next area and see one of my villain's henchwomen in battle with some side NPCs I made, and she wins it. My adventurers want to come up with a plan to take this henchwoman alive and ask her questions, but the married guy just charges into battle. Everyone, rightly so, says, "Dude, WTF?" He says, "Okay, I won't do it." I told him, "You already said you were gonna do it. You must do it." He argued with me about it for over a minute, and I had to be a jerk and say, "I'm the DM. You said you were gonna do it. You announced you were gonna do it. Now do it." He tried to grapple my villain's henchwoman, failed the grapple check, and then got mad at me because he failed to grapple the henchwoman. He stands up, goes to the bathroom, returns, and won't sit back down when he returns. I think I part ways with OP here on this point. I get that he doesn't want to allow take backsies, but in this case, I'd allow it, especially if the rest of the party would have had more fun with their original plan of capturing the NPC. Fast forward, and they've been captured by the villain. The married guy wants to cast command on an NPC. I said they are tied to posts and muzzled. He said the spell would still work because it's an action. I asked him to read the command spell. He starts to say, "You speak." I cut him off and say, "You're muzzled, you can't speak." He tries to tell me that doesn't matter, and the rest of the table agrees with me. You can't speak if you're muzzled, so therefore the spell won't work. He's flustered, but accepts it after everyone tells him to. Fast forward to the fight with the villain. One of my druid adventurers wild shapes, and I, as the villain, cast Dominate Beast. Reminder, I've played D&D as just a player maybe 4 times, and this was now my 3rd DM session. I don't know the whole rulebook back and forth yet, so I was missing some information about how the PC was to break free of Dominate Beast. I was going to have her roll to break free, and the married guy tells me that she must take damage first. I thanked him for the information, and he says repeatedly, "I'm always going to keep you honest." To me, that would insinuate 1, that I'm lying and have been lying, and 2, I'm being purposely deceitful for my own benefit. That really miffed me, but I didn't say anything. I think OP is reading too much into that statement. "I'm going to keep you honest" doesn't mean they suspect you of lying, in my opinion. It's more like letting someone cut the deck of cards before you deal. I guess it could depend on their tone of voice when they said it though. For expanding lore for the world I had created, I had written in my notes that whoever is doing the most damage to my villain, he would cast banishment on that player. The purpose of this was for someone in the group to be sent to the dimension of where the evil war god, who my villain had a pact with, resided. This was for world building, lore, and character development if they wanted it. The player who was banished was, you guessed it, married guy. He gets banished to the realm of this evil deity, and he's cussing me out that I killed his character with some BS spell. To get him to calm down, I had to show him in my notes what was happening, and I was going to let him use a religion roll to come back to his realm. I had to compromise and let him to choose whatever he wanted to roll to come back to get him to calm down so we could just move on. It was at this point he started to slur his words a lot. I blatantly asked him if he had been drinking a lot, and he said with slurred speech, "You don't control me." I think we all know banishment doesn't work like that, but that's okay. He's using it for a lore dump of sorts. But cussing the DM out is pretty much never acceptable. And if married guy was such a rules expert, why didn't he just ask why this banishment spell worked differently than the book says? I swear, most of the RPG horror stories really just come down to talking to each other like adults. Anyway, let's continue. At this point, I was really annoyed. I now just did whatever it took to get this session to be over, and everyone else was right there with me. The story ends, no one really seems enthused about being triumphant over evil, so I really feel like I failed as a DM. For every session I did, I probably put in 20 hours of prep work. 10 hours coming up with the story, writing my notes, outline, making battle maps on Incarnate, finding great music to play to set the mood, painting minifigs, and creating encounters and homebrewed NPCs in D&D Beyond. We did 3 sessions, so it was roughly 60 hours altogether of prep. After the quiet car ride home with my really bummed out wife, my friend who reintroduced me to D&D had to talk me down from quitting D&D altogether. Weeks went into planning, and I wanted to give up because of the awful experience I just had because my friend wanted to be really drunk while playing Dungeons & Dragons. I'm going to keep going, but now I'm not going to put nearly as much prep work into it. Oh, and we had a guy who was present at the last session but wasn't playing. He told me that he was refilling married guys' drinks for him all night. He had 6 Jack and Cokes and was downing them as quickly as he was receiving them. I then remembered when married guy drinks a lot, he prefers to stand because standing up will give him the spins and he'll either fall down and hurt himself or throw up. Yeah, I think OP is putting in more than he's getting out of it here. It's also hard when the disruptive person is a friend. Now, I have no problem with cracking a few brews around the gaming table, but getting so wasted that you're cussing on a friend over a game is taking it way too far. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you've made it this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. See ya!